my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I have another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are talking about The Outsider by Stephen King. This is Stephen King's newest release. It was released the end of May 2018, and I'm real excited to talk to you guys about this because it was excellent. Dare I say this might be one of Stephen King's best releases in the past 10 years, in my opinion. You might have a different opinion, but in my opinion, I loved it. The book starts off with a bang. We are grabbed right from the first page because, you guys, there's been a murder. A grisly, awful, terrible murder of a teenage boy. And not only was he murdered, he was assaulted, he was desecrated. It was just brutal. The sort of thing that the, people who found the body and the police officers and everything else, they're not going to forget it for a very long time. But on the positive side, they're quickly able to identify who the murderer was. There were a ton of witnesses, not of the actual crime, but leading up to it. A lot of people saw this man with the child beforehand. They saw him covered in blood afterwards. Not only that, his prints are everywhere. All over the vehicle that was at the scene of the crime, all over the body, just everywhere. There's no doubt in anyone's mind who did this. What is shocking, however, is who did this. He's a well-respected member of the community. His name's Terry Maitland, and he's an English teacher and a Little League coach. Everybody knows him in this town. Everybody loves him in this town. And one by one, we start getting to read people's witness accounts of people that have known him his whole life, saying, like, it was definitely him that I saw. So in a big showy display, the police go down to the sports area, baseball field. I'm good with sports, as you can tell. They go down to the baseball field where Terry is coaching a game that night, and instead of taking him in for questioning, privately taking him in, because they have so much overwhelming evidence, and because it was such a absolutely horrendous crime, the cops want to make a big show of this. They want to show the town that their kids are going to be safe. They are taking this seriously, and he's going away. So they go down, they arrest him in front of his wife, in front of his kids, in front of everybody, and they take him in. So throughout all this, Terry is steadfastly maintaining his innocence. As you would, no one's gonna be like, yeah, it was me. So, but he's maintaining very, very firmly his innocence. And he says he even has an alibi. And they're like, yeah, okay, everyone has an alibi, buddy. Like, prints don't lie, DNA doesn't lie. And they don't have the DNA test results back yet, but they've been sent off, and like, his prints are everywhere. And people with their own eyes have said that they saw him. So he starts to tell about his alibi, and it's that he was with 3 other teachers, and they were out of town in a city, far enough away from where they live that he couldn't have just, popped back to murder some kid. He was away. And so, the other teachers corroborate this. They say, yeah, he was with us. But that's really not enough for them, for the police to believe that he's innocent, because of all the evidence. But then it turns out, as luck would have it, that there's actually a video of Terry with these other teachers in this other town during the time when the child, Frank, was murdered. And there ends up being video because they went to see like a speaker, and Terry himself asked a question to the speaker, and he's on film asking the question. So that's very helpful for him. And from there, the rest of the book just sort of unfolds. Throughout the whole time, there's this air of unease that it just settles over you as you're reading it, because now it begins to, we start to ask the questions, how can a person be in 2 places at the same time? He's on video in one place, but his prints and eyewitness account have him at another place. So it begins to unfold. The first 3/4 of the book, it reads like a, you know, murder mystery. And I couldn't put it down. I compulsively read it. It was so readable. And that's the first time in a while that a Stephen King book has been unputdownable to me. Sometimes I find it drags on a little bit because they're big books. Like this one even clocks in at I think 560 pages. They're long. And sometimes I feel like it drags on a little bit and we're given a ton of unnecessary information, which I don't mind because that's how King writes. It's just how it is. But for this, I didn't find that at all. I found that every single page, everything we're told is important and flows perfectly. So the first 3/4 of the book read like a murder mystery. And if you've read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy that he had put out over the past few years, you'll see a few characters or a character or two pop up in here from there. And I just thought that was a cute little tie-in. I always love, King is famous for, you know, tie-ins to his other works, and that's always fun to find those tie-ins. Then the final 1/4 of the book turns more into a bit of a supernatural, creepy, I don't want to say horror, because again, it's still more of just that dread, but it's definitely a little spooky and a little unsettling for sure. So that's all I'm going to say for the people who don't want any spoilers. It was excellent. 2 thumbs up, 5 stars. I loved it. And especially after I read Sleeping Beauty's King's last novel, one that was co-written with his son Owen. And I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It didn't make me excited. This made me excited. I could not wait to find out what happened next. So yes, but if you love Stephen King, if you love classic Stephen King, mixed a little bit with the more recent sort of detective murder mystery, I think you would love this. But it's just, I think it's some of Stephen King's finest work in recent years, and yeah, it makes me feel like when I pick up one of those older Stephen King books and read them, that sort of excitement. So I would definitely 100% recommend this if you love Stephen King. So now, for those of you who want the spoilers, because maybe you're not going to read the book, or maybe you are going to read the book, but you don't care about spoilers, let's get into it. So what happens after Terry's arrested, they start getting these conflicting, you know, how can he be in both places at the same time? The day comes when it's time for his arraignment. Now, some things you should know that have also been happening with other characters is the boy who was murdered, Frank Peterson. The family of Frank Peterson are obviously in a horrible state. They are grieving so hard. After the funeral, when the mom's in the house and she's sort of looking at all the food that's been brought over, she's grieving. She's in so much pain. She's throwing the leftovers around, and she has a heart attack and she dies. And at this point now, they also had another son named Oliver, and he's just, you know, he's now lost his brother, he's lost his mother, and his father is useless right now, you know, understandably. So Oliver kind of jumps in like he's the one that has to get his mother's funeral arranged, figure everything out, while his dad's just kind of holed up in his room, unable to function. What ends up happening is that Oliver goes to the arraignment, or he goes to where the arraignment is going to be held, and as Terry Maitland is being transferred from the prison to, I guess, the courthouse, the murdered boy's brother pulls out a gun and starts firing, and in the process of this like shootout, he gets killed, the brother, but not before he kills Terry Maitland. And this happens pretty early on. I was like, oh, okay. So he's killed, and now his wife and his kids are just, they're completely devastated. And as they're getting ready to, you know, sort of find out what happened, because they have so much evidence first against Terry, but also they're building up this huge case of how it couldn't have been him, but now he's gone. And even if they manage to clear his name, that's not going to do a whole lot for his wife and kids who are left now without him. So then from the victim's family, now both of the sons are gone. The mother's gone. The dad kind of really loses it then and tries to kill himself. He isn't successful, but he does enough damage that he's like brain damaged and just in a hospital bed. So now the police have decided that they're going to keep searching. The police officers who made the call to arrest him in such a public manner, you know, they're feeling a little guilt, but they're also, you know, he feels bad that this happened, but at the same time, he did what he thought was right in the moment. Because in his heart, he knew it had to have been Terry because there was too much evidence. And he was determined to get justice for this boy. So things carry on, and research starts to happen, and they try to find out, like, what can it be? Does he have an evil twin, a doppelganger? What is it? How could he have been in two places at once? And he gets in touch with a woman named Holly, or she gets in touch with him because she's heard about the crime. Interestingly enough, she had a similar case a few years ago back where she lived, where a man was accused of brutally killing 2 children, and he was put to jail for it, and he committed suicide in jail. Even though he steadfastly maintained his innocence throughout the whole ordeal. And he had an alibi, but unfortunately for him, it wasn't on camera. You know, because what are the odds of it being on camera? So he didn't get people after his death fighting to figure out what really happened because, you know, to them it was a closed case. But Holly knew different. She knew that, no, there's something else going on here. And because of things that had happened in her past, things she'd seen, she kind of had an idea of what maybe might be going on. And so she gets in touch with the main police officer, his name is Ralph Anderson, and she tries to tell him about this supernatural being that she has a bit of experience with, a Mexican monster from legends named El Cuco. Hope I'm saying that right. And what this monster does is he can take your face by a certain kind of contact, and it takes time for him to sort of regenerate into this new person, sort of like a shapeshifter. And then what he needs is the blood from children to sort of keep him going. So it's kind of got a vampire feel, this sort of creature. Here's where the book kind of slides from murder mystery into supernatural monster story. And even then it maintains its like keeping you on the edge of your seat quality. So they all get together, the police from the original murder, and then Holly, and the sort of connection to the Mr. Mercedes here is that her former partner was Bill Hodges. So they get together, she shows them, you know, the research she's found about this character. She even gets this film that was made way back in the day about this monster. It's like a foreign film, and so she shows it to them to try to explain to them what it is, because of course it sounds insane if you go to, you know, a bunch of police and detectives and say, here's my theory, it's a crazy monster who steals people's faces. But at the same time, they're just, the fact that Terry was in 2 places at once is also insane and impossible. So they're kind of like, well, maybe, I guess, let's give it a try, let's hear her out. And because of her reputation, she's got, you know, a just 5-star solid reputation that leads them to not write her off entirely right off the bat. So then they learn that it seems like it's happening again, that this monster is getting ready to change again, and he's getting ready to change into sort of one of the local petty criminals. And he was actually one of the ones who had testified, or not testified, but spoke to the police as a witness about Terry Maitland because he had seen him after he had killed the boy. And his name is Claude. And the reason they get the idea that he's beginning to change is because some of the people who were involved in the Maitland case are starting to report seeing visions of this person in their house in the middle of the night and interacting with him. And the way they describe him, the tattoos on his hands, the tattoos all over him, his features, they're able to put together that it's Claude Bolton. So they go to try to contact him to see like what the hell's going on, and he's out of town. He's at his mom's. So they call down to the town where he is and get the police to go there and just make sure that he's there, and he is. So they figure out that he's getting ready to regenerate again. And that's going to be a little difficult for him because normally there's longer periods in between. But I guess just because the police are after him now, he needs to hurry it up. So they eventually, all the police and Holly go down to the town where Claude and his mother are. And they decide that they're going to find out where the monster is sort of hibernating. And they're going to kill it. And that's what they do. They lose some peers along the way. Two of the people that go down are killed. One was Terry Maitland's lawyer, and then a PI. They're both killed, and then another one is shot. But the main two, Holly and Ralph Anderson, they get out fairly physically unscathed, though emotionally and mentally just, you know, effed up because of all that they've learned and seen. And then when they killed the creature, it wasn't just like, oh, you know, it was pretty gross. And then after they leave, you really see the repercussions. Holly and Ralph sort of, because they were the two that were there, they sort of try to help each other through it, calling each other when one has nightmares, you know, just helping talk the other one down from anxiety and just things like that. And we see that they've formed a really special and strong friendship, you know, as you do when you go through something traumatic with someone. And yeah, then it kind of comes to an end. But it was a really, really riveting read. Kept me up at night turning those pages, and I loved that. So I was very happy. I was very happy about that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys either tomorrow, but if not, definitely Monday. Bye, guys.